good afternoon from Mickey and from me from Castle Goring. Mickey says, lots of love for everybody. And I don't know how long Mickey's going to stick around, but we have a lot of ground to cover. And today I am going to cast a rather wider net, I have to tell you, than I usually do, because I think a little change of pace, including other people of interest, will be productive. So we're going to have the inside story on a supposed royal marriage that is about to break up. We're also going to speak about one of the most famous art collecting names in the world and how a member of the family has just been done for fraud. So we will also speak about Meghan's plans for her papa. So I think we can just safely plunge right in. An avid tennis fan says, Naomi Osaka, the Japanese tennis player, has revealed that the Duchess of Sussex reached out to offer support after she withdrew from the French Open to take a mental health break. Reached out, yet again, Meghan reaches out. It used to be called pushing your nose in everybody else's business, but I suppose, now that we live in a truly George Orwellian age, and euphemism is hyperbole and vice versa, I suppose poking your nose in everybody else's business is now called reaching out. But to continue the question, Osaka said that she had received an outpouring of support from celebrities, including the Duchess and Michelle Obama. Oh dear. As well as Michael Phelps, the American swimmer, Stephen Curry, the NBA basketball player, and Novak Djokovic. Do you think it's appropriate for celebrities to reach out, in quotes, to public figures who are A, dodging their professional responsibilities? Well spotted, my dear. And B, encouraging those public figures to set the press up for censorship under the guise of their mental health? Well, I couldn't have put it any better myself. Thank you very much for the question. And I have to say the answer is in the question. First of all, we need to emphasize that Naomi Osaka is mixed race. And of course, that seems to mean that everybody who is mixed race then has not only the right, but feels that they have an obligation to step into the frame and suffer along with their sister or brother, as the case may be. This is really racial profiling that is totally unacceptable to people who have gone beyond what racial prejudice is all about to what Martin Luther King wanted race relations to be all about, namely character. Now, I have to tell you, I know what it's like to be grilled by the press. It is very discomforting. I get that it is discomforting for the players. I get that they find it very humiliating when at the end of a match that's not gone well, they are put through the ringer. I get all of that. But I also get that they're getting vast sums of money. And I also get the fact that these are super competitive people. Why is it that their mental health comes into play when the press are involved, but their mental health doesn't kick in otherwise when they're climbing over the corpses of their competitors? I mean, I'm sorry, it just doesn't wash. And I do agree that if this trend is allowed to continue, every mealy-mouthed sort of wet behind the ear player is going to spin around. Oh, I can't give an interview to the press. My mental health is going to suffer. Well, then they should be seeing a psychiatrist to cope with the effects of fame. But by the look of it, all they're trying to do is dodge a discomforting situation. And yes, it is uncomfortable. But how do you think you develop character in life? You face your challenges and you learn to hit back as and when it is appropriate. It's called growth, and growth is painful. You know, what planet are these people on? Next question. Lucy Brown says, it's a classic narcissist characteristic to have a wide arsenal of tactics with which to exact an onslaught. Very well spotted. The public at large needs to be educated on the various types of tactics, and Meghan is the poster child for red flags. Your position has a lot of merit, my dear. Many people would agree with you. Yes, they, meaning Harry and Meghan, are in stealth mode, looking for blind sides and Achilles' heels. I couldn't agree more there either, because, of course, they've done the full frontal onslaught, hoping that they were going to tear the jugular out of the neck of English society, Scottish society, Welsh society, Northern Irish society, otherwise known as a British society, the British royal family and the British nation. And it didn't work. So now they have slunk away to fight another day. If any good is to come of this debacle, and she spells it Debarkle, which is quite obviously a pun on Markle. Very well done, my dear. I approve wholeheartedly. It needs to be educating the public on narcissist tactics to watch out for in their own lives, because such tactics can become quite predictable. You are absolutely right. And I think that this is one of the unintended positive side effects of the whole Markle debacle, that it has shone a light not only on narcissistic conduct, but also on antisocial conduct and on serious mental disorders and serious personality disorders. So, in a way, they are exemplars and warnings of what not to be. By the very act of examining their conduct, we are learning about a seriously destructive set of circumstances and character and personality traits. To continue. Otherwise, we become mere gossips sitting around whining and complaining about bad behavior, which would be far too Meghan and Harry-ish. Well, my dear, I couldn't agree more. Yes, there does have to be a positive aspect to chin wagging. If there isn't, it's just chin wagging. And that's why I always try to refer back to the basic principles and the guiding tenets that make our lives constructive and worth living, or destructive and worth avoiding. Lorraine from Ireland says, do you think Meghan Markle is distancing herself from her father so that when he dies, she can tell us all about her dreadful childhood being very abused by him? I have to tell you Lorraine from Ireland. Very well spotted. I am in complete agreement of what I have experienced in terms of people approaching me when I was writing my book on Harry and Meghan. And one of Harry's closest friends, who has a direct connection to me, which is, I can't reveal it obviously, but we are speaking about major, major, major heavy-hitting household names, who rang me up to say that the reason why Harry had to protect Meghan and the reason why Meghan couldn't get back in touch with her father was because he used to interfere with her. I thought then that whoever said it, and I'm not saying that Meghan or Harry said it, I'm only saying that I was told that Harry wanted me to know this, and obviously it came from Meghan, otherwise he couldn't have been guessing what she was saying about her father. And I'm not saying that either Harry or Meghan said it, and I need to be very clear about that for legal reasons. I thought it was evil. I thought it was evil then. I think it is evil now. I went ballistic. The fact that the roof wasn't blown off of this poor unfortunate castle is entirely due to the fact that it was recently restored and very firmly pinned down, because my eruption was Vesuvian. I was so angry on behalf of poor Mr. Markle. And I did point out to the person who was acting as a messenger, so shall we say the Mercury. I did point out to the Mercury that this could not be true, because 2 weeks before Meghan Markle had met Harry, she was singing her father's praises and had sung them systematically, and that I know members of the Markle family, and what they have to say completely shoots down any such really rather disgusting, reprehensible, filthy, unconscionable and evil suppositions. Now, I am not saying, and I repeat this again for legal reasons, I am not saying that Harry or Meghan actually said it. The whole thing could have been invented. I happen to think it wasn't invented. I happen to think that the person was doing this as an act of kindness and was actually sincerely repeating what they, and I'm not particularizing as to gender, because I don't want anybody to be able to guess who said it to me. It was my view that this person was being absolutely genuine and sincere. And I have to say, if this is what I was being told while Thomas Markle is alive, can you imagine what is going to be said once he is dead? All I could say is I would sincerely hope that all the indications are misleading, that Meghan has no such intention, and that when her father dies, whenever that is, and I would imagine it's going to be sooner rather than later, he doesn't seem to be in very good health, that he will be covered in the honours that he, a good, kind, loving father, deserves. A royal outsider says, do you know anything about Prince Albert and Princess Charlene of Monaco's marriage? The press is implying that their marriage is in trouble and she's seeking shelter in South Africa. Is that true? Well, I do know a little bit about their marriage. I actually don't know them. I knew Princess Grace slightly, but I do not know Prince Albert and Princess Charlene. But we have friends in common, some really pretty good friends in common. And I know quite a bit about them. And I have to tell you, I do not for a second believe the rumours in the press. The press have been trying to mock, trash, denigrate, humiliate, and titivate the public at the same time with suppositions about their marriage. Even at the time of their marriage, Princess Charlene of Monaco is a very, very low-key person. She's very beautiful. She's very athletic, as all swimmers obviously would be. But Prince Albert used to be athletic as well. They evidently have a very sound, solid marriage. She had trouble getting pregnant. She got pregnant. She produced twins. She has been in South Africa, her native land, for several months because she got an ear, nose and throat infection. Now, any fool knows. Of course, we have to remember that when we're dealing with certain members of the gutter press, the rule of a fool knowing doesn't apply. That anybody who has a serious ear, nose and throat condition, and she has had several procedures for it, she would go deaf if she flew. She can't fly. There's no mystery involved. The woman can't fly until she is well enough to fly. Otherwise, she runs a serious risk of going deaf. Her husband and children have been to see her. She has made various announcements to the fact that she is very sad to be separated from them. But is she going to endanger her health and possibly end up deaf to silence the speculation of irresponsible organs of the press? I think not. So that is the reality of what's happening. The children obviously are in Monaco with their father. They did visit their mother, but they're back in Monaco with their father. This is their home. Children need the stability of home. Nobody in their right mind would think that a devoted mother wants to spend 1 second more than she has to away from her young children. The whole thing is mischief-making of the highest order. Rosaria Oporto says, Angelica Gulbenkian, wife of Duarte Gulbenkian of the famous art collecting dynasty, has admitted a 1.5 million fraud involving a missing pumpkin statue. Can you tell us anything about it? Will she go to jail? Well, I sincerely hope she goes to jail, my dear. Whether she will or not is another matter, because she has been a systematic fraudster who has used the great name of Gulbenkian, which is a great name in artistic circles. The Gulbenkian Museum in Portugal is one of the greatest art museums on earth. Calouste Gulbenkian, who was the founder of the dynasty in the latter part of the 19th century, he was Russian. In those days, Russian, but he was Armenian by birth. And when Russia and Armenia separated, so to speak, he ended up being regarded as Armenian. And after the revolution, he also acquired British citizenship. And the British government mucked him around so badly in the Second World War that he ended up leaving all of his art, not as he had hoped to do to the British nation, but to the Portuguese, because the Portuguese were treating him with respect, while the British authorities had not. You know, pomposity can be the death of good sense, and it can also be the death of acquiring one of the greatest art collections that has ever existed. He was known as Mr. 5%. He got 5% of every barrel of oil produced by Standard Oil. He was one of the creators of the oil industry, and he had to fight the British, the Americans, everybody, tooth and nail to get his 5%, but he got it. He was tremendously rich. Well, this is one of his collaterals, because this is, I think, the wife of a great nephew. So it's not, he doesn't have a direct line, because he had a son and a daughter. And if I remember correctly, the son, Nubar, who used to ride around London in a taxi cab, that turned on a sixpence, ostensibly. He was very colourful. And if I remember correctly, he has no heirs living. So, of his body, let's put it that way. So, since we are au fait with those terms. It's one of the brother's children. Well, the bulk of the fortune was owned by Calouste, and Nubar, his son, had the benefit of some of it, and some of the other Gulbenkians have had the benefit of some of the fortune, but the great bulk of the fortune went into the acquisition of and the creation of, in perpetuity, of the museum, which, if I did not say, is in Portugal. I think I said it. And it is a $3 billion foundation. So it's tremendously rich. But the Gulbenkians don't have that much money. The vast part of the fortune, as I said, is in the art and owned by the museum. That's where the fortune lies. So this clever Dicky Bird, she's a beautiful 39-year-old German blonde, obviously decided that she was going to milk the name for all it's worth. Well, let's hope that when she's eating milk, bread and gruel in a German prison, that she's going to have time to reflect upon the fact that it does not behoove you to pretend that you have connections you don't and steal millions of dollars from innocent people. Because she sold this sculpture, which was a huge pumpkin. I mean, it's huge. It's, in my opinion, it's rather grotesque. And it's very sort of, in my opinion, very sort of modernish, pop artish sort of thing that, believe me, Praxiteles wouldn't waste a moment's sleep over competition like that. Having said that, it's worth a great deal of money. She sold it without owning it. She also has sold an Andy Warhol of the Queen, evidently, that she had no right to sell. She didn't own these things. She never owned them. She was never going to own them. It's like me deciding I'm going to sell Meghan Markle's earrings that Mohammed bin Salman gave her, and saying, oh yeah, you know, there's Meghan wearing those $500,000 earrings. Yeah, they're really beautiful, aren't they? So I give them to you for 400,000. Pocket the 400,000. And no earrings are delivered. That's exactly what she did. Naughty girl. So I think she's not been tried yet for the Warhol con, and let's see what happens there. Let's see if she pleads guilty. But she is certainly facing a prison sentence. Whether she's actually going to go to prison or not is academic. I do not know enough about the German authorities, and I don't know how softly they tread when dealing with household names. So I don't know. Monica Zaharia says, how can Meghan have prepared a dossier as long as so many pages when she doesn't know what the staff, she means staff, but she says stuff, what the staff will bring to light following the internal investigation? Or maybe she does mean stuff. And I now know what the question means, sorry. Looks like she knows how she abused them and wants to have everything prepared to hit back as quickly as possible? Question mark. Just wondering. And what are my thoughts on it? It is a very interesting when someone can prepare a massive dossier rebutting accusations that possibly they know not very much about. Of course, if she has been given the allegations, then she is well within her rights to prepare as long or short a dossier and rebut them to any degree that she wishes to do. But my understanding is that it's well over 10 people who have submitted allegations of bullying against Meghan. And her defense is really simple. They're inadequate. They're inadequate. They're just not up to the mark. I'm great and capable, and these jerks they're just not up to the job. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Because I think this is a very interesting tool that the royal family and the British nation as well have. We have a smoking gun. Let us see how Meghan is going to get out of the fact that she's caught with a smoking gun in her hand. See you anon says, Lady C, I know it's an old law, but it is still technically on the law books. Lèse Majesté, the Treason Felony Act of 1884. I believe last used in 1980 and holds a hefty prison sentence and fine. Surely the likes of Scooby-Doo and H's wife should be done for treason against the monarchy. Oh, my dear, would be that life were so simple. Yes, the Treason Act does exist. Treason used to be, after the abolition of capital punishment in this country, the only offence for which you could be tried and executed. That's not so anymore. Nobody can get executed in this country. If we had been dealing with Harry when another redhead was on the throne, I'm now referring to another Henry, another Harry, Henry VIII, Meghan would have been separated from her neck a very long time ago. And Harry also, a rather shorter time ago, would have found it very discomforting, because when he reached for his red hair, he'd find it wasn't up here, but it was down there, somewhere in the basket. caught as it rolled off his neck. But of course it's not going to be used. We live in a day and age where people are free to do an awful lot that they morally shouldn't do, and legally, if you held them to the letter of the law, they shouldn't do either. But they are allowed to do it. It's called civil liberties. We live in this very free world, which is why when the Meghans and Harrys of this world complain about how terrible these times are and how unjust society is and how terrible and corrupt and everything awful this civilization is, they need to remember in any other age they would have been separated from their heads. John Rogers says, "Do you think, Lady C, that Meghan will overstep the mark and fall flat on her face, upon which her PR team will run off down the road in a flurry of talcum powder, not wanting to be associated with the poisonous duo?" No, it's not going to happen. It's very optimistic of you to hope, because obviously you are hoping that it will happen, but it's not going to happen. Her PR people are there to earn money. Money, money, money. That's the name of the game. Money. They're only gonna earn money if there is conflict and controversy and confusion. I am sure they'd all prefer that we genuflect to Meghan and Harry the way a devout Catholic genuflects to the cross. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we live in a free society with a free press. And although you have stooges like People magazine, Vanity Fair, Bazaar, etc., etc., churning out panegyrics on a bi-weekly basis, sometimes actually not even once every 2 weeks, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week. They're getting paid, all these PR people. It's my hand scratches your back and your hand scratches my back. These publications get advertising which is directed to them by the PRs who create the advertising campaigns. So the whole thing is a massive circle of opportunism and planting stories and propagandists propagating popularity if they can get away with it. And if they can't, they still promulgate interest. So I'm afraid as long as Harry and Meghan can continue writing the checks, we are in for flurries of how wonderful they are, how hard done by they are, how terrible the world is to them, how they're going to, with one act of compassion at a time, be authentic and organic, and they're going to let everybody know that we all need to follow them, which means that if we follow them, we must trash our parents, we must trash our families, we must never ever say anything like thank you when people welcome us with open arms. Oh no, we must accuse them of being hateful. One act of compassion at a time. Donna Boucher 7 says, now that I think of it, Harry and his wife are too old and Diana has been gone too long to matter to the younger generations. I am 63 and loved Diana and the boys. Loved is in big block capitals. My children, who are all in the demographic that advertisers are looking for, have no interest in Harry and his wife. We older people loved Diana but hate wokeness, so I predict a huge flop for them. So long, you misguided losers, and do I agree? Up to a point I do. But this is where Meghan and Harry and their PR people have been very clever. And although Harry is a dolt in many ways, he's very wily in others. And he knows how to play the press. He's always known how to play the press. His hatred of the press and his, I'm trembling one flashbulb at a time, is rubbish. When he wanted to press the press's buttons with Centabarley and Invictus, he slammed those buttons like you wouldn't believe and sucked up to the press as if he were Meghan on a quest to become a duchess. So, no is the answer. No, no, no. Harry and Meghan know what they are about, and sadly, their PR people know what they are about, and an awful lot of young people have been roped in, not because Harry and Meghan per se are of interest or that the demographics lock in age-wise, but because Harry and Meghan are being sold as victims of a cruel establishment and a cruel nation with a cruel heritage. That also, another aspect of this is that America as a country has always been proudly Republican. And I'm not using it, please listen for a second to those of you who think I'm speaking about Republican Party. I'm not. I'm speaking about the Republican system of government, which is the absolute opposite of a monarchy. So let's try to use the word as it is truly meant to be, and let's not have people jumping on my case saying they're a Democrat or they're a Republican. It's got nothing to do with the Republican Party, nor does it have anything to do with the Democratic Party. This is a Republican system of government, meaning that you have an elected head of state. That's what a republic is. Or, to put it another way, even if it doesn't have an elected head of state, if it doesn't have a monarch, it is a republic. So you have China is a republic, Russia is a republic, France is a republic, Italy is a republic, the United States of America is a republic. They all are republics with a republican system of government. I hope I'm making this very clear to those of you who get confused in the United States by the fact that you think that a Republican automatically means you're a member of the Republican Party, because it doesn't. That is a secondary and subsidiary meaning to the word republic, except in the United States. But I'm afraid I'm not American, and it is called the English language, and there is no other word to describe a Republican system of government but to say it is a republic and it is a Republican system of government. So having belaboured that point, which is rarely necessary to avoid hundreds of comments from people who have completely misunderstood the meaning of the word, Americans are proudly Republican. whether they are Democrats or Republican parties. They are proudly Republican. And their system is, to an extent, founded in an anti-monarchic attitude. You had an American War of Independence, you kicked over the British monarchy, you ended up with a republic. Successive presidents of yours, including Monroe, Wilson, etc., have actively sought over the centuries to destroy the monarchic system of government. They are on record saying they wanted to dismantle the European empires, and to an extent they succeeded. So let us not be blind to the fact that a subtext here is that whether Americans are aware of it or not, and even when they like the British royal family or any other royal family, there is a tremendous amount of prejudice against the monarchic system as a result of the United States of America being a republican state. That also kicks in. So, Mariam Abdullah Kronova says, I already liked and respected William, but the fact he was willing to stand against his own brother to defend his employees increased my feelings for him 100-fold. Many of us have had ineffective bosses who were incapable of taking a stand, and we, their subordinates, paid the price. Well done, Prince William. I couldn't agree more. A good boss defends his staff against abuse, irrespective of whence the abuse originates. The fact that William's staff were complaining that Meghan had been abusing them, because bullying is a form of abuse. So let's call a spade and not pussyfoot around. He was, if he had strength of character, he was honor bound to defend them, and he did. Had he tried to sweep it under the carpet and not defend them, and had he colluded with his brother who was defending his wife, and you could say, well, Harry's being loyal to his wife, but I'll come to that in a moment. The fact of the matter is, he would have been corrupt, and he was not corrupt. Now, on the question of Harry's support of Meghan, this brings me to the fact that my father used to not support my brother, one of my sisters, and me when Mummy was abusing us. He would only stand up to Mummy when his skin was on the line, or when my little sister, who was his favourite's skin, was on the line. Otherwise, he would never defend us. So we were constantly being abused by our mother. And when I used to stand up to him and say, how can you claim to be a man of principle and you allow this to happen. And he used to rumble, oh, whether your mother's wrong or right, she's right, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I think he tried to justify it to himself that he was being loyal to her. He wasn't being loyal to her. He was being disloyal to us. The fact of the matter is, we were not important enough to him for him to defend. So he colluded in our abuse. Because my little sister was somebody he rarely loved, he would always stand up when she was being abused. So she was never abused effectively, because at the slightest hint of anything, he would defend her. Harry, I'm sure, feels he's being a loyal husband. I would say to him exactly what I used to say to my father. I used to say, Daddy, you are such a hero. You're such a hero. I have more balls than you, and I have none. You disgust me. I used to say it, and he would always sheepishly walk off because he knew it was true. Pathetic, pathetic. Sherry says, Lady Colin Campbell, I have noticed that both you and the Queen wear lovely brooches on the left side. Is it a fashion rule to wear them on the left side, or may they also be worn on the right side? Perhaps you could share a little tidbit from history on brooches. Thank you. Well, my dear, I don't know that there's very much to share in terms of the history of brooches. I don't know. They exist. They've existed for a long time. They've existed rather longer than many other forms of jewellery because, of course, they were very easy to pin on to a vestment. So, you know, other forms of jewellery came a bit later, but brooches have been around for a very, very long time. I wear them on this side because I prefer being photographed from this side, and it doesn't make sense for me to have the brooch on this side because this is my preferred side. So as far as I'm concerned, it's as simple as that. Insofar as the Queen is concerned, who knows? I've never asked her, and I don't think I'm going to. Sorry. And on that note, I will say, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope it has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell. And remember, please keep the questions coming in. Enter them in the comments section and I will get them. Thanks. God bless. Bye-bye.